You just don't think that this could be like a huge business, because really it's like I was just tinkling with some lights. I was playing with Lego. It was still very much a hobby thing, just a cheeky thing for me to do to find a way to buy more Lego, really. For me, that was kind of like the first exposure to the business and creativity, or business and passion, that you could actually have something or build a life or build a business around something that you really, really do love. You're trying to fix something yourself rather than trying to, what business should I make, or what should I do? What product should I make? Just try and fix something that benefits you or helps solve something for you. Up until, I guess, 12 months ago, it was all about gut. It was all about, I'm going to do this because I think it's going to work for me. Having said that, you reach a point where if you don't run the numbers and have the right data, you could go downhill very, very quickly. I wanted obviously something a bit more purposeful, more meaningful, and something that was just fun. And because Lego was fun for me, and to think that, this could be a job, I can make an actual living out of this, would be fucking awesome,
Before we get stuck in this episode, I just want to thank you for being here. I started this platform to spark conversations that inspire, creatively, professionally, personally, and everything in between. So if you want to support the mission, the best way is to subscribe or follow, whether you're watching or listening, or in a more tangible way with unofficial goods. It's a range I designed with artists in mind, and you can find it over at futurehistory.co. This will help other creative minds discover us and ensures that you won't miss any of the incredible guests we got lined up. Because when this passion is shared, it grows exponentially. So thank you. And now let's get into it. I love seeing how creativity and strategy, there's that interplay.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I found, that like with the more business-minded people, they found it really hard. Actually, on both sides, they found it really hard to lean into the other.
Yeah.
And same with the creative people, they find it really hard. So that's been like a particular interest of mine to try to find how they can converge a little bit better.
Yep.
And I just found it like just, banging my head up against the wall, trying to speak with people in whichever camp.
Yeah. Yep.
So you would have found that.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
I think like, and I mentioned this when we spoke initially, like when you start, I think with my thing, it started purely just as a hobby, right? It is like, how do you make money? Like, how do you get into the business side? And I never, it's funny because like I always wanted to have a business. Yeah, I've always wanted to, not work for the man and not be in the corporate thing, but I never knew what it was that I wanted to do. I didn't want to just, buy an existing ice cream business or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then when in my case, it started purely just as a hobby, like just an experimental, curious about how to put lighting into Lego. And then after doing that for a little bit, you're like, hang on a second, there's a business idea here. And that's when everything started clicking. But then it was still very much, this is a side thing for me. You just don't think that this could be like a huge business, because really it's like I was just tinkling with some lights. I was playing with Lego. It was still very much a hobby thing, just a cheeky thing for me to do to find a way to buy more Lego, really.
Or an excuse to buy it.
That's it. Yeah. Well, the funniest thing is, it actually did start like with a lot of heated arguments with me and my wife, because I was spending a lot of money on Lego. Lego ain't cheap, and especially when you got kids. I had like 2 young kids at the time, like they were probably ages 2 and 4. Wife wasn't working, and I'm just like spending a shit ton of money on Lego. But so it was kind of like, all right, how do it would be pretty cool if I had a business to do with Lego, even if it's a side business, just to be able to say, hey, this is for business purposes, you know what I mean? So that's how that whole thing started. But there's a lot of kind of like, when you think about at the time, no one else had a Lego lighting business out there. So I was purely just tinkering in it because no one else had done it. So I never really thought that this could really be a big business. It's always just a side hustle for me. It's always, this is what I thought at the time. But then when you start, getting right into it, you start realizing that there's other people who are similar to you that's when you started seeing that's where I started seeing the
Yeah.
business opportunity, the business side of things. And that's when I was able to be like, all right, cool. You've got a hobby, you've got a passion project, and you've got a real opportunity to make something out of it. So for me, that was kind of like the first kind of, I guess, exposure to the business and creativity, or business and passion, that you could actually have something or build a life or build a business around something that you really, really do love. And it ain't just like a pastime. It's not just a side hustle. It could actually be something, like a full-on business for me, that I don't have to work a 9 to 5 and do this on the side. This could be something that I could, make a life of.
So in your head, did you already have this idea of how it could potentially scale?
No. Of course not. Like, I had no idea about business. Like, I don't know anything about accounting, business, none of that. I didn't even know how to register an ABN. Like, I knew nothing. I just thought that, I just knew that I didn't want to have a 9 to 5 and work for a job that I'm literally just there counting the hours, or I'm there to look good, or you know what I mean. I was really good at playing the game in the corporate world. Like, had a pastime, had to wait till 5 o'clock. I wanted something that wasn't that. I wanted obviously something a bit more purposeful, more meaningful to me, and something that was just fun. And because Lego was fun for me, and lighting up Lego, that's fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me to think that, this could be a job I can make an actual living out of this, would be fucking awesome,
I guess for Lego, their focus is just developing the sets, the bricks and the sets. Because when I saw your thing, I was like, that's just a no-brainer, man. Like, how are they not doing that?
I think a lot of people say that. Heaps of people ask when they think of what we do, how come Lego haven't done that? I think Lego, they started as a kid's product, primarily like a toy. It's completely changed now. Lego, as it is today, was not like what it is today. Like, it wasn't like this 5 years ago. I think 5 years ago, or even just around the COVID time, Lego completely pivoted and changed direction because they saw an increase in adult consumers. When I was getting into Lego, they weren't any black labeled boxes for Lego. Now you go to Lego store, every box is black boxed, 18 plus. It's very targeted to Lego, and it's not. At one stage, the 18 plus or the 6 plus, that was purely to say the difficulty level. That's not the case. They purely write 18 plus because they want to target towards. Yeah.
I found it strange that it took them that long, right? Because from a strategy point of view, you're investing so much time and energy building up a kids base, and this kid's going to go up to adults, right? And then I noticed that a lot of their promotion went from kids playing with Lego to adults playing with their kids, right? So they're trying to clearly illustrate that this is something that you do with your kids.
Now, there aren't any kids in any of their ads now. It's adults. Literally, they have I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago, they started a campaign. It's like adults welcome. Do you know what I mean? They have it's all about adults, making it okay for adults to buy Lego because, like I said, prior to Lego's shift in marketing direction, it was very much a kid's toy. And if you're an adult playing with Lego, you were just that creep. Or, you know what I mean? Or you were the guy in the basement. You know what I mean? You were just that real nerd. Nowadays, it's kind of it's more widely accepted.
It's pretty standard.
Like, everyone loves Lego. Now it's more the parents that are into Lego.
Yeah.
And
what kid can afford a $500 set?
Exactly. Yeah. I think Lego are smart. They know that parents obviously, or adults, have more disposable income. That's why you're seeing Lego sets, and they love the whole nostalgia type theme. You're seeing, sets that we as adults loved when we were kids, like Batman, or 1989 Batman, that is. You know what I mean? It was like the old school Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, that kind of thing.
They got that DeLorean set. That's
that's why, and that's for adults. It ain't for kids. Kids aren't buying that shit.
Nah, that was I think I don't remember when it was, but there was maybe about 15, 20 years ago. Like, Lego was nearly done, right?
Yes, they almost went bankrupt
because that's before they started doing all those the collaborations.
Yeah,
and then it got me thinking about how Lego is, and what you do with Lego is really similar to how there's Nike with sneakers, and then you have other creatives and other artists that are doing one-off custom sneakers.
Yeah.
Right? So it's it's playing that same space where you're leveraging off the Lego brand.
Yeah.
Right? So half your work is already, more than half your work is already done.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's
we definitely do piggyback off that because it's. I think that goes back to why initially, before I even started this thing, why I did have so many doubts on whether this could really be anything. Like, because at the end of the day, you're enhancing Lego. You're a third party. You need, in order to have a Light My Bricks product, you need the Lego set in order to have lights. So we're quite secondary. But just seeing the rise in obviously adult consumers of Lego and just how massive Lego is, it's like a household thing now.
yeah.
And when it comes to Lego, especially when people are buying these big sets, they're not buying these large sets. Well, adults aren't buying these massive sets to build and then pull apart and rebuild again. That's usually what kids do. Adults are buying it to display, and they just put it there and then show it off to all their mates and say, "Look how awesome this set is." So it's just natural for me to think at the time, why wouldn't you put lights in it? If you've got like a kick-ass DeLorean that's on the shelf, imagine how good it looks with lights. So it's kind of like for me, it's a no-brainer. And so like that's how obviously that's what's contributed to our success. The more Lego put out that are display-worthy, adult-focused sets, the more products that we can create, basically.
Yeah, well, there was also, like when you're saying you're piggybacking off Lego, there was this whole situation with Apple when they changed ports. Remember when they used to have those really wide ports?
Yeah.
And I think there was like a couple of hotel chains that invested squillions of dollars having those docks in the hotels, and then the following year gone. Yeah. Just like that. I think that like Apple I have a feeling that that's part of their strategy. They do that for licensing.
Yeah.
So, if you want to renew, if you want like officially like sanctioned licensed products, then you're just going to have to keep renewing it.
Exactly.
Where like with Lego, I guess is just they're pretty cool with it.
With what we do, yeah. I mean, they are very much aware of what we do. They support what we do. I mean, we've had a collaboration with them in the past. Like it was back. This was just around 2018. We actually did embark on like a 2-year pilot project with them to actually create a lighting product.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was huge. Like I mean, they wanted to basically, there was a small team called the Lego Lead Users Lab, and what they were there was like a team that they just were, I guess, put together to go out and find what cool shit other adult fans of Lego are doing, whether it's Lego jewelry or Lego train tracks or even Lego cafes or anything like that enhances the Lego building experience in some way. And obviously the lighting category was something that was quite talked about amongst Lego, the Lego community and Lego headquarters. So they actually chose us to create or look at creating a lighting product. So, back then when they picked us, when I say us, they came out and interviewed me, they spent some time with me, and they basically said, "Hey, Kenny, we want to, create a lighting product with you." I was like, mate, I've made it. I was like, this is it. This is the dream come true. And it was a really interesting experience because we were working with a team. And when you first talk to anyone from Lego, you just think that, oh man, you forget how massive a company Lego is. And the team that we were working with were quite a small team amongst a lot of other big stakeholders, decision makers, all that kind of thing. So I do remember them saying at the very start, there's going to be a lot of hurdles. But at the time I'm thinking, how hard can it be? Just make a lighting product and we've got it all sorted, that kind of thing. But yes, it was hurdle after hurdle. I think it was quite frustrating because, we'd make a decision and then would have to get approval from one company, one part of the company, and they would say, yes, you can do this, but you can't do this. Another person would say, no, you can't do this. So it was a lot of it was very confusing because there wasn't, I guess, a key decision maker that was put onto the project. We were kind of working with an innovation team, would talk to the head of design, or would talk to a licensing person. And they were just their rule books are just ridiculous. If you speak to anyone who works at Lego or who have worked with Lego, they'll tell you they just have a massive rule book, and I guess they can not bend the rules, but certain rules don't apply in certain situations. It's very confusing. So it was a 2-year project, and thankfully I funded the whole thing because after the 2-year period, the team we're working with, they didn't get They didn't get renewed. Their contract didn't get renewed, and so they all kind of dispersed either into other parts of Lego or they left the company. So we got permission to continue with the lighting project, and really at the end of the day, we just used that to. It was what we call our 2.0 version. So
Oh, cool.
just to give you a bit of context, so Light My Bricks' product was basically all these different, like it was a composition of different electric components that I was able to design to, plug and play. So really, they're just like tiny LEDs, wires that you can plug together in a modular system where I was able to teach, the product was really like instructions on how to install say 10 lighting components into a Lego DeLorean, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And the product is very much like instructions on how to do that. You get all the components, but you don't know what to do with it. You need to follow the instructions. Similar to like Lego bricks, if you strip back a Lego box, like so let's say Lego DeLorean, you take away the Lego box, you take away the instructions, you'll just see all these different pieces and you wouldn't know what to do with it. So it's very much the same in our lighting product. It's if you strip it all back, it's just lighting components. You won't know what to do. So it's very much the product is very much the instructions, right? Mm-hmm. So when we first started, they were I basically just contacted some manufacturers in China and said, find me the smallest LEDs, find me the smallest components, and put this plug on it, put this end on it. And so I was able just to work with what I could get. But then it's very easy to copy because these are kind of like parts that are already available in the market. And we, after a number of years, we definitely attracted a lot of copycats, competitors using the same products. So that whole Lego lighting project was actually in good timing because I wanted to find a way to make my product more proprietary. I wanted to make like a 2.0 upgraded version that was built specifically for Lego. Because prior to that, the component or the system that we used were electronics that I found small enough to make work with Lego. Whereas this time around, we designed from the ground up something that was specific for Lego. So that was what that Lego project was, and that was what we used in the end to, I guess, upgrade our system.
So you have components that are specifically for you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it took like a good 4 or 5 years in the end from when we first started engaging with different designers, manufacturers, all that kind of thing, to when we actually did release it, because we went, started from scratch and looked to design like a cable that was super thin, that could be, easily routed between Lego bricks and stuff without any gaps, because prior to that, we just had small wiring that you could put underneath bricks, but, you can see a bit of a wedge. Kind of forced to make it work.
Yeah.
Whereas our latest design is like super flat ribbon cables. They're easy to connect. Prior to that, our cables and plugs are so tiny. You need, tweezers. You need to plug it in a certain way. It can be pretty frustrating. But our latest product is like super easy to connect and super thin, but really strong. It's a much polished system.
You guys got to be pretty particular with what sets you guys can fit in, right? Like it's not going to be appropriate. I mean, not every set's going to need lights.
Well, yes and no. I think the lighting system that we've developed now, you can light anything. Really.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. It's more Lego bring out so many sets.
Yeah.
It's more how valuable is it or how profitable is it if you to create a product for every single, like a lighting kit for every single
set. So you
set.
have to think about who is Lego's audience for this particular set.
Correct.
And does it align with ours?
Yeah, for sure. So I think thankfully for us, the good thing about Lego's direction is they cater towards adults very heavily now. So a lot of their sets are quite big, display worthy, centerpieces, that kind of thing. So we would naturally make lighting kits for those sets. We wouldn't be doing lighting kits for, a kid's Minecraft set. That they're not going to...
Yeah.
They'll build it, they'll destroy it. They're not going to just put it on display. So that does narrow it down a lot. But at the same time, I think a big thing, thing that people are probably not aware of is how long it takes to actually design a product. A product is not just a bunch of lights. as I mentioned before, a big part of it is the instructions, and our instructions they're all digital. You can imagine like Lego instructions, what they look like. Our instructions are pretty much the same thing with the wire integration and where to place lights, that kind of thing. So you're actually building. We've essentially redesigned the Lego instructions because you have to use our instructions instead to build and install lights as you go.
Yeah.
So
and is it done? Are any of them done in tandem with the build, or do you? Complete the set?
So like I said, so when we did this whole, so prior to our upgraded system that I mentioned, it was very much just lighting after you build the set.
Yeah.
And they were very photo based because I did everything myself. So let's say again, you use DeLorean. It starts with a Lego DeLorean, and you take a photo of the set built. And then I'll kind of show my hands like removing certain sections, photo, wire, photo. I was able to make it really neat and like, in a good photo box, very clean. It went from that to full digital instructions where you're digitally building the Lego set and you're not just doing the instructions of lighting it after you build, but then we've got another option where you can actually light as you build the set. And you can imagine how much work that is because you're actually like, you have to basically dissect and reinvent all the instructions just to make it as pleasant as possible from a customer experience.
Just from a curiosity point of view, like when building a Lego set, one of those bigger, more elaborate ones, is it something that like, is there just really creative people that are there and piecing it together, or are they able just to like throw it into some sort of
AI
and be like
because there's so much and I think that's another thing people don't understand as well. There's designing a Lego set, there's so much compliance kind of aspect to it, so there's people who are just, you got to be creative. Like a lot of the Lego designers, they are actually really good. They call them master builders or whatever you call it. They're actually good at creating something. So they'll design a build, but a lot of the work involved is in whether or not this particular edge during the build process is sharp, whether or not it can it's strong and sturdy enough. Like there's so many kind of factors.
Oh, it's engineering, dude.
It's engineering. Yeah, that's what it is. So there's a lot of things to consider when they're designing. And so for us, there is an element to that. But for us, it's more about how do we make the customer experience as good as the Lego building experience?
I completely see that, man, because
that's tricky because it's wires and electronics. And
it is, and
finicky.
Like it's really finicky.
Yeah.
Before you were saying about how like most of the time you'll get a piece and you'll like for the more grown up, more elaborate pieces, you want to display it.
Yeah.
I found personally, I enjoy the process of creating so much more. So we have I'm just going to I'm going to assume that you're familiar with every single Lego set, right?
Yeah.
So you know the Saturn V set?
Yeah.
I think that's a work of art, man.
Yeah.
So we had that and it was on display.
Yeah.
And then my son he took it down, wanted to show someone and dropped it. So a bit of it just came off. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
That's perfect excuse. Let's take the whole thing apart and start again, because the funnest part for me was actually building it. And there were so many bits to that where I'm putting this together. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is this even
you're going
for?
Backwards. Or you're going,
Well, it was almost like there's all the internals of the rocket. I'm like, why? How did you even think of
why a green brick here?
A green brick and a red brick? Yeah. And it looked cool, right?
Yeah.
It just, before you put the outer shell, before we got the internal structure, like, this looks mad. Like, whatever creative choices they made. But it was just in that process. I'm like, how did they think to use that particular brick in this, or these set of bricks in these arrangements?
I don't know. My guess is that sometimes they want to use extra bright pieces to be able to, tell certain sections apart. That's my guess. And also, like, certain parts are cheaper to produce too.
Right.
And so if it's a color that's widely available, it's a lot cheaper, and it doesn't really matter because it's internal. I think that's my that's my predict.
But having that process of like actually building it, and we're just sitting together and we're just like, we'll take turns. You find the piece, we'll put it together, and then adding a layer of like doing the electronics with that. I think that'll be pretty cool. It does require a different level of patience and
it does.
dexterity.
I think it's one of those things where a lot of people probably like they find it quite daunting especially if they've never done it before. I mean, it's easier for me to say because I'm so used to the product, and a lot of, our customers have been with us for a long time. The more you do it, obviously, the easier it is, the more familiar you are with how it works. But yeah, definitely the first time it can be quite daunting. But I think a lot of people find that once they've done it, it's just like building a set. The first time you're building a Lego set, it can be quite tricky. Then you go tackle the next set, and it gets easier and easier and easier to a point where now, for lighting, for me, it's like a no-brainer. I would light any set that I would buy, and it's actually quite. Because I know what I'm doing, I like to just kind of light things my own way, and a lot of people do it that way as well. So you can actually buy a lighting kit specific for that Lego set, but then there's a whole segment of, I guess, customers that only buy what we call individual components or DIY components.
Oh, shit.
And they light their own stuff.
So you got your own sort of got your community, which is a subset of the Lego community.
Yeah.
And then within that, there's a subset.
Lighting pros, lighting nerds, whatever you want to call it. But it's the same thing with Lego. Like, a lot of people will not buy Lego sets. They will buy parts off marketplaces.
Yeah.
They have BrickLink marketplaces where they buy their own parts and do their own version of, say, DeLorean. Say they don't like the Lego DeLorean, the official set. They'll go and, they're smart enough or creative enough to build their own kind of DeLorean version with their own bricks that they source themselves.
Yeah, and using pieces in creative ways as well, like non-conventional ways.
Yeah, for sure.
That's one of the things about Lego. I think that you have the sets and they're fun to do and follow the instructions. You got the step by step. But then my son, he will take the sets apart, and like I was telling you, he's got one of those mats where you can just pull the drawstring.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's thousands.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have you seen the app that there's an app now where you take a photo of all the pieces that you have on the floor and it'll suggest what you can build with it?
We've used that.
Yeah.
We found it to be hit or miss with it. Sometimes it'll be like, you can build this, but you also need this, and this piece. And we don't have that.
Yeah.
But he's really good at just saying like, oh, okay, I think this piece works, and I've got to go find it, so we'll rummage through it.
Yeah. My oldest son is obsessed with building Lego guns with Technic pieces, and he'll watch heaps of YouTube videos and tutorials, and he comes out and he's got some bloody AK-47. Like, how do you make that? He just shoots rubber bands and all that kind of thing. It's incredible.
Oh, cool, like functional.
Yeah, full functional. No, we're talking full functional.
There's a lot of the YouTube is a great resource, right? And I think that's one of the things with Lego, and especially with what you do when you're telling me about how you have a subset of your community, is just that free play. So when you were saying how Lego, that they have these fucking stacks of rules. Yeah. I'm thinking how they, of course it makes sense, right? That they need to have degrees of compliance, even down to the level of engineering when they have every single brick for all Lego time connect. The first Lego brick is going to connect with the most recent Lego brick perfectly. That level of engineering and precision. That needs to have pretty tight guardrails.
Yeah, for sure.
But then they play in the space where they encourage free play. So there's that contrast there, and I find that really interesting. And that was the thing, trying to balance that creative element with these really tight guardrails and strategy, how that works. And they seem to be doing a pretty great job of it. And then I think that's sort of the strategy, the approach that you've gone with as well, right? Let's just try to create something. And yours has to be even more rigid because you have to comply with their parameters that they've set.
Yes and no. Because we're not a Lego product, we're not officially partnered with them or anything. Anyway, it's a lot more freer. While we were working with them, far out, it was we had to abide by every single rule, almost to a point where it made it too difficult to even make happen because of a particular rule. Even, for example, they would say, when I was talking to you about our cables being really thin, they would have a rule that says you can't have anything wedging underneath a brick because it causes stress on the brick over time, which, if you really think about it, if you've got a paper-thin cable underneath a brick, is it really going to damage the brick over time? Probably not, but it's one of those things where it's just it's the rule book. It's a rule book. You can't kind of cross it. And it was very interesting because they really did encourage free play, especially internally. They encourage fail forward, go out, find stuff, find people who are doing cool things in the industry or wherever it is, work with them. Try and think outside the box, but yet all the challenges we faced were very like it's very closed, like you know what I mean. So you've got one team, the innovators, who are like going out and trying all this cool shit, but then they're getting, I guess, roadblocks of people who are saying, no, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. Just stick to the rules. So it's kind of like, one of those things that I found a pretty interesting experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and then yet they have all these collaborations, right? Like the licensing, they just
yeah. Which I mean, to be honest, I don't think they make money with those collaborations. It's more of a branding thing. And you know, when you're the size of Lego, I mean, I don't think it matters. I think they put caps on their growth as well. They don't want to grow that much. They will put, you know what I mean?
What do you mean? Like how do they don't make much money off the collaboration? Like, man, like that's where all the money's from. Like you're going to build let's say, a range of Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's money in Disney's pocket. Right?
Well,
like,
no, because they're paying for licensing.
Is Lego or Disney? Which
well,
way is that going?
Lego would be buying the license from Disney.
They'd be buying the license from Disney.
Yeah. Or they'll be buying, with the collaboration, I'm not sure with the Nike collaborations or whatever it is. I do think that the Nike collaboration is a lot better than, say, the Adidas one. I don't know if you know about the Adidas one that they tried. They did an Adidas collaboration.
I don't remember that. I know
not many people know about it. They brought out one shoe, maybe a T-shirt, and it was a flop.
The shoe, was it the shell toe?
It was an Adidas shoe. Like it was a shoe that had like Lego studs on.
Oh,
and
actually,
stuff like
yeah. No. As it was a actual shoe, not a Lego.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Shoe. They did have a Lego set of a shoe.
We bought some of the merch, actually, the apparel for my son.
The Adidas ones?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But it didn't last too long. And then since then they pivoted, and now they've done a collaboration with Nike, which I think is a better one. They've got like a bigger range. It doesn't like they've got more than one shoe. They've got a few kind of Nike sets as well, which I think is probably doing better for them.
I mean, like to me, it seems like their whole business model right now is just based on collaborations. Because how could you? I mean, that's not entirely true. They've got their own stuff like the Ninjago,
but that. I mean, their biggest, I think their sets or themes that make the most money are the franchise stuff,
of course,
like Star Wars, Harry Potter, that kind of thing. And to your point before, when Lego were almost at about to go bankrupt, it's because they went too broad. They tried to diversify way too much. I think they had like bloody Lego scooters or Lego bikes at one stage, and then they had the CEO, a new CEO, come in and basically strip it all back and go back to what their core, which was the brick, and that's when they started doing the Harry Potter collaborations, the Star Wars collaborations, and that's basically what helped turn them around.
Yeah, I think just printing money at that point.
Yeah,
that's interesting about trying to not diversify too much and just trying to stick to your guns, because a lot of the advice, or some of the advice that you would get, is about just trying to
diversify.
I
think diversification is probably good, but I think it has to be done right. I assume that maybe they put too much money too fast into areas that weren't vetted into whether or not it'll be profitable or not. I'm assuming, I can share like a similar experience, when our lighting product is our core, what we do, but 12, 18 months ago, I went on a journey going, all right, how do we kind of diversify, or how do we reach a new audience or different type of audience? And we toyed around different kind of products, and one of them was like releasing our own kind of brick sets with lights.
Ooh, shit.
So the idea is really cool, but I didn't do enough like market research. I didn't vet the product. I didn't run the numbers properly, and we sunk a lot of money into creating these awesome brick and light sets, only to maybe 8-10 months later realize this isn't going to make us money. In actual fact, we'll probably lose money.
Is it Lego compatible?
Yeah, totally Lego compatible.
Right, yep.
But they were basically, because we had our own kind of product designer who he was on Lego Masters himself. He was just a gun Lego designer, and we're like, how do we utilize his skills? And he's got like he can design pretty much anything. We had the idea of making really cool brick sets that aren't so much what Lego would do, like more stylish, different kind of avenues that Lego haven't done in the past to create these cool, big boxed brick and light sets, but we just couldn't get them into a good price that would be, I guess, a good price for consumers. That mixed with a whole bunch of other stuff that we didn't probably run numbers on properly, that would have been a lost leader. So I had to pull the plug on that one, unfortunately. Cool idea, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of things that need to... And I can only imagine like a lot of brands or companies would love to diversify, but they might not run the numbers or might not do it correctly, and therefore could end
When
up...
you say like run the numbers, because I think that's a pretty
mate.
brilliant idea, man. and it would be one that like, where do you find the balance between being data driven and just running and just going with your gut? Because that to me sounds like something that you...
Yeah, mate. For me, up until I guess 12 months ago, it was all about gut. It was all about, I'm going to do this because I think it's going to work for me. And thankfully, it has worked well for me in the past, like, as in like, 8-9 years into the business. Every year's just grown from strength to strength. We've just grown and grown and grown, expanded and scaled. Having said that, you reach a point where if you don't run the numbers and have the right data done properly, you could easily fall into a trap of losing money. Therefore, you could go downhill very, very quickly, especially when you're dealing with, like a really high spend in your operations, in your product, all that kind of thing. What I have learned in the last, like I said, 12 months is data and numbers is everything. Like that helps you. I mean, there is an element of gut feel, but it has to be backed up by data or good numbers. Otherwise, you're going to fail very quickly.
Yeah, because my pushback with that, and when I say pushback, this is not really coming from experience. This is coming from a gut feel.
Yeah.
Is that the numbers, you're able to find whatever numbers you want to support any kind of argument.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't necessarily know what it is they want until they see it, right? For example, when you're innovating something new, when you're creating a set of bricks that Lego have never done before, and it kind of aligns with your brand, then there's no way to really know how that is going to go until you actually jump in. Because even if you try to run the numbers, if you ask someone, would you want this? Like, they're not going to know until they actually see it in action. And it might even take a few years.
Yeah, I get what you mean to a point. And I think for me, like, if someone told me that, I mean, I hear that all the time. People have told me all the time, you need to run your numbers, you need to run your data. In my head, I'm like, nah, I know what I'm doing. Like, and it's not until you actually learn from experience. And I think, like, I would say the last 2 years, I probably learned the most than I have prior. And I think that's all through failures and trying and doing. And I think to your point on sometimes you just need to give it a go. And to a point, yes, you do. But I think there's also merit in having a good finance person. If it's not you, a good finance person by your side, just doing health checks and all that kind of shit. Because like I said, 9 years into the business, we never really had a good finance person or anyone really running numbers and watching our numbers up until last probably 6 months ago.
Do you find that having someone there that has that level of acumen on that part of the business, do you find it stifling on the other part? Yeah,
I think it's what I've learned is its balance is really important. I think it's really good because I'm the type of person who's like very like, I'm very risky. I'll try anything. I'll be like, yep. If I have a good idea and feeling, I'm go. Like I don't really, you know what I mean? I'm not risk adverse at all. Like I'm more, I love to take on the risk. Whereas usually a good finance person or good data driven person, they're usually the opposite. Yeah. And I think it's good to have that by your side to at least give you the what ifs or run certain scenarios so that you can make decisions. I think it comes well balanced. You don't want to, I don't think accountants or finance people or data driven people are, most of the time they are quite risk averse. And I think that's a good thing because you need that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a good balance.
I do, and I completely hear what you're saying. I just don't know when to tap into that resource and when to ignore it, I
think from my experience, a good finance person will give you different scenarios. They'll say, scenario A, this is what would happen if you do this, you know what I mean? And therefore you can make your fair kind of decisions based on those scenarios.
Yeah, and I think that's also one of the challenges that a lot of like more creative minded people have, right?
Yeah.
Is they're not risk adverse. And I think that for a lot of people that are out there, just the nature of doing that, they've leaned into that risk, right?
Okay,
Like, you know, because the other option was to land that go into that 9 to 5 and to have that security, level of security. But, you know, what are the opportunity costs on either end of that?
Yep.
So I feel as though that people that, like right now, my position is that I'm all in and financially probably not the brightest of ideas in the, I guess, like in the form and the shape that it currently is. It wouldn't be something that a financial advisor would be I guess, okay with. They wouldn't advise this. But I feel as though that it needs to be done.
I get it. Yeah. I think from my experience, like I was there 9 years ago when I first started Like My Bricks. I was working 9 to 5. I had a mortgage to pay. I had, kids. Like I said, my wife wasn't working, so it was single income. I wasn't earning that much money, and when I was on a roll with Like My Bricks and realizing that there's so much potential here, all I wanted to do was quit. Right? Even when I was
quit Like My Bricks,
quit my full-time job and go all into Like My Bricks. Obviously, everyone would be saying, no, that's not a very smart decision because, you know, you got responsibilities, all that kind of thing. As much as I like say, you know, sometimes it's all about, you got to do it, right? For me, I had to craft that out quite carefully. I didn't speak to a finance guy or anything like that. I had to basically kind of set myself a time frame. I had to work with, I guess, accountants and like a broker because I had to basically refinance my mortgage, do a whole bunch of stuff there. But I think for me at the time, I wasn't that risky person where I just did it, right? I didn't just, step out and quit my safe, secure 9 to 5 and go all in. I had to do it over a certain period because thankfully for me, the business was doing well and we were making good money. Like I was actually making more money in Like My Bricks than I was in my day job. But for me, it was too soon. And there was a part of me that had to kind of wait it out a little bit because what I didn't mention is like we wanted to build a house and I couldn't leave my 9 to 5. So I had to work with accountants and mortgage brokers and all that kind of thing to be able to provide the right financials for me to do that. But I think it wasn't all like I'm just going to risk it and just quit and do it. Like I had to do it quite carefully. So there was part of me that was probably the only time where I was probably more risk averse than anything. But
it's that first one.
Yeah, it was a very first move for me. But once I did it, obviously, once I was all in, like it kind of lifted a lot off me, and I was like all in. I was able to dedicate so much more time in doing it. And if I hadn't have done that, then I don't think the business would be where it is today. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. it's that first step is like looking back now at that situation. Well, I guess I was just going to ask, would you have done it any differently? But I guess the answer is it can't be.
Probably not. No.
Right?
No, I wouldn't. I think, if people ask me what would I have done differently, I think for me it would have been more belief in. It's easy to say you have more belief or more confidence or whatever it is, but I think for us the whole content and social media and all that kind of stuff, I guess stepping out there and being more of that spokesperson earlier on, I would have done differently. I would have done that earlier on. I didn't do any of that until 2 years ago. So, when people ask me if there's anything I would have done differently, it would have been that.
Yeah, that's a good point, man, because you have a lot of, when you have a brand and then you have the people behind the brand, more often than not, the people behind the brand, their following and their level of engagement they have with the with their community,
Yeah.
it's like 10x, man.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
it's
I mean,
significant.
that's where we built a lot of our success from. It was from community, but it was Like My Bricks, not Kenny. It was Like My Bricks. Because I mean, back then, I kind of represented that. My whole thing was representing that Like My Bricks is this huge brand, even though it was just me doing everything. So I didn't like. No one knew who I was. People only knew who Kenny Lee was in terms of Like My Bricks. Like I said 2 years ago, when I actually stepped out and said, "Hey, I'm the founder. I'm going to document this. I'm going to build my, you know what I mean, like the personal brand side of things." Yeah,
Yeah, and like, so the reason I ask these questions is because when you have, generally, I would say that people fit in one of those two camps, right? They're either going to be more risk orientated or risk adverse.
yep,
And I see benefits in both
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah,
Very few people are able to play in the space of both in tandem and follow this kind of like a path and making right decisions with the knowledge or the acumen of both. And I feel as though that like it's important to be able to have to be grounded in both.
yeah,
Because I know, like, for me personally, that, and to your point, what you're saying, you take the first step, and then once you take that, there's a bit of a snowball effect, and you realize, like, whatever the fear and the trepidation you had to taking the first step, it seems to have just gone as soon as you've done it, and the fears that you had weren't anywhere near as bad.
It gets easier.
It gets
Yeah.
easier, but then,
Yeah.
like, I'm wondering whether or not it gets easier or you just become better at it as well, right?
Both,
It's
probably.
both,
I mean,
yeah.
like when I say it gets easier, like I'm risking like millions of dollars these days. You know, like I've got like so much in debt, good debt. You know, when I say good debt, it's like business debt,
Investments
right?
and-
But like it's one of those things where the more money I guess your business makes, the more risk you'll be taking on, because the more money you make, you need to be spending more money in order to make that money. So there's like your risk levels will probably get, you know, higher and higher, or lower and lower. You become more risky. That
become more
definitely.
risky.
But I don't know. I think in my case and in like e-commerce or running like my type of product-based business, I think that you definitely need to be more risky than risk adverse if you want to see bigger results.
And then,
in my
and
opinion,
also,
yeah.
I guess it also really just depends on what stage of the
Yeah.
growth you're in, right? Like
Yeah.
at the start, it's like, it's just full risk.
Yeah.
You really,
And
like the first step in your head.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it's look at it, you can't look at it objectively because you're in your own head. And at that time, you're like, I'm risking all of it. And
Yeah.
you don't realize how small of a risk. Like at the end of the day, like we don't really account for worst case scenario. Like worst case scenario, you just go back to the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like that's really as bad as it
Really,
can
I think, but if you don't have that as an option, it'll force you and push you into a place where you have no choice, and that way it's like this or not or never kind of thing. Like you have to. I don't know, if you always have that kind of safety net, it kind of may not be, I guess, working to your full potential, giving it as much as you would if you don't have that kind of fallback. if that
I
makes
hear you,
sense.
man.
Yeah.
I'm. That's for me personally. That's where
Yeah.
my head's at. It's like this. There is no other way. I know. Like I can get a full time job. It's like,
Yeah.
but that's for me.
Yeah.
That's not an option.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that I wish I had done this like 20 years ago.
There's always that.
There's always
I mean,
that, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
now, so the sacrifice that I have to make now is giving up a lot of personal time, I suppose. Where when you have personal time, you have an abundance of personal time in your 20s, right?
Yep.
Like basically all of it.
Yeah.
You could just be because like living at home. With the
You
folks.
got no excuse when you.
no, you could dedicate, 16,
Yeah.
20
Yeah,
hours a day
yeah,
if you really
yeah,
wanted to,
yeah.
just grinding. Not the healthiest option, but you also can bounce back better
Yep.
and more resilient to
Yep.
that kind of stress in your
Yep.
20s.
Yep.
So for me, like my sacrifice now is a lot of the personal time. And
When you say personal time, you're talking about the family time.
family time, right? Like last night.
That's tricky. Yeah.
It is tricky. It is tricky. And like last night, I was like still on the laptop at like almost 10 o'clock. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is fucking stupid. It's like, why am I
Yeah.
giving up the thing that I love the most to do this, to eventually give me the space and the time to do that? It's like, this is like, feels like I'm working backwards, but I also recognize that sometimes you just got to do that.
Is the whole delayed gratification
Delayed
piece as
gratification,
well?
yeah.
You know, I think every there's different stages. You know, for me, it's like I remember when I was all in on like my bricks and just working around the clock. Like I was working before I even quit my job, I was juggling both my 9 to 5 and the business
With kids?
With kids as well. So it was very much a grind. And I remember, doing the 9 to 5, coming home, spending some time with the kids, getting them to bed, and then from, I guess, I don't know, 8 o'clock till bloody 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm just like, right into doing everything for the business, right? And I'm like working my ass off. And it was a grind. I was doing that for a long period. And at that time, when you really love something, like, it's not like, oh, this is a grind. Oh, it's 2 o'clock. You know what I mean? You literally like look up, oh shit, it's 2 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bit different. And I think that there are different phases of, I guess, business journey, when you're trying to build a career or whatever it is. Knowing that there is that delayed gratification, knowing that there is, you're doing this and it's going to pay off, as long as you're not doing that 24/7. For example, for me, like I'm not like working and just churn after churn. If it is work that I'm doing, it's something that is, I guess, more, it's moving the needle somehow. It's not just running day to day. If that makes sense. Like I'm not bogged down. I'm not tied down. 9 years into the business, I've journeyed and you know what I mean? My day is very different to how it would be 9 years ago.
And your approach to the business has to change,
Yeah.
right? So it's like whatever the tool set that you had early on, that I guess that mentality of the grind is good for that. But like at this stage of the business, surely it's not going to be the most efficient way of operating.
And there are probably, everyone's different, and there are certain business owners 9 years into the business where they are still literally doing every single thing. Thankfully for the type of business that I have, I'm able to, at different points of time, being able to let go of certain responsibilities and hire and expand and let go and try and find people that are better at me at that particular skill set. And that's been able to, I guess, free me up to do other things. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we were saying before off camera, that when you are bringing people on to take on responsibilities that you're very happy to relinquish, that you need to have that ability to relinquish that, right?
Yeah.
So with Light My Bricks being something that you have grown and built from the ground up, from nothing, brick by brick, if you will.
Haven't heard that one before.
Sure. So having that attachment, I guess, like, did you always have this, the propensity to be like, this is just strictly business here?
Yeah, but I mean, I have always wanted to let go. Like, I would say I'm quite trusting of people, which has been good, has been bad. I love the idea of having a large team. I love the idea of being able to let go. I think my lessons that I've learned is that for certain things I've let go of too fast. I've been too quick to, hand over keys or whatever you call it. And it has bit me in the butt. But like I said, I've learned from that. And you kind of, when it comes to hires, you do learn. If you're hiring people, you do learn from past experiences who to hire and who not to hire. You do learn that quite quickly. And so that's something I have learned over time as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things with people in strictly creative pursuits is that, firstly, like, they're working by the hour, right? So that's essentially how things translate. It's like, if you want to make money, you have to go dedicate time and energy to make that. So like, it's like, say, for example, a visual artist, you want to make some money, you have to spend the time to create a piece and then to sell it. So it's not the most efficient way of operating a business. It's like, so then that's when the conversation has come about with diversifying, right? So there's a lot of artists now that aren't strictly this or that they are artists first and foremost. And then however they produce or whatever they create is an extension of them. right?
Yeah.
So there are some artists that I've got one guy coming on shortly, Doc G. So he is, and the conversation that we've had is that because he builds a brand himself as an artist. He has certain icons that are representative of his style, and he'll apply it to apparel, to paintings, to plushies, a whole gamut of things. And I just saw that he's actually just doing a Uniqlo collaboration.
Oh, cool.
So he's he's that's his strategy, right?
Yeah.
As a creative, he's recognized how to insert himself in the space, create his pocket, and to diversify. And I'm trying to encourage a lot of artists to kind of think of themselves that way,
Definitely,
right? Like to not pigeonhole yourself. You're not strictly a visual artist. You're not strictly a musician. There's so
You've got
many
to stand
other things.
out, I think, as well.
Individually?
I think, I mean, how many artists are there? How many?
Squillions.
There's so many. It's like, what makes you unique? Like, what makes you stand out? And I think that's, I mean, even with my company, like my bricks, and we do lights for Lego, there's so many other brands who have come on who do the same thing. But the one thing that's helped us stand out amongst all the others is that brand that we've built from the very get-go. And that brand and the positioning, even like the whole look and feel, we've tried to always be different from others. And I think you need to stand out. Yeah, it's really important.
And that's actually, that will take me to another thing about how Lego, they don't really have competitors playing in the same space. Like their competitors would be other toys.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Not so
look,
much
they do.
bricks.
Like nowadays, they do have bricks, but they're no way as massive.
No
I think
way.
we've got like what's it, Mattel? They've just launched like their own brick sets.
They look cool, but
they look cool, but
yeah.
they ain't Lego. Do you know what I mean? I think Lego have spent so much time in the engineering and just even like the clutch power and the clicking and all that kind of thing. You can't get that from any other brands. There are other brands who are pretty good, but never as good as the feeling you get when you're clicking Lego bricks together.
The thing with Lego as well is that when you finished a piece, right, like you've whatever massive, or any piece, right, any size, you look at it and you know it's still Lego.
Yeah.
Even as close as they try to replicate whatever it is that it's representing, like a Lamborghini still looks like a Lego Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Whereas the Mattel ones, they've stripped all that back. It looks more
still bricky.
Actually, I was going to say it looks less bricky, where it looks more refined.
Yeah,
right. Like
yeah.
I'm thinking specifically.
Oh, they have certain parts to it that are not even. They're just like a whole kind of like dash part.
Yeah,
and it's
right.
like full molded plastic. That ain't a brick. You know what
exactly.
I mean? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So whereas like Lego still has something that looks uniquely Lego.
But not even that. Even if you, I mean, like a lot of people are kind of jumping on the alternate brick kind of bandwagon because their prices are cheaper or whatever it is. But Lego, no matter what the quality is, you still want to buy Lego because just that feeling, and that's what branding is when they can create a feeling or emotion that you want to buy that because it's Lego. You want to buy that particular set because of the Lego branding, the Lego box, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? As opposed to an alternate brand that might be just as good, but it ain't Lego.
That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone, and this is back to what I was saying about the engineering. Like, Lego is.
There's both because there's the branding and there's actual physical product quality that is
and that like they come hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Like so when you open up a Lego box, you open up the pack, right, and you like that it has a sound, right?
Yeah.
The way that they play together.
Yeah.
And when you fit every single piece, it works. There's no fucking around. And
Yeah.
very rare do you have a missing piece.
Yeah.
Very rare.
Yeah.
And that experience of putting it together, you don't have to think whether or not it's going to work.
Yeah.
Right. So you can sit there.
Trust
You trust it, right? Like there's none of that. And you're looking at the instructions. The instructions are so well done, so well created, and even the instruction booklet. You look at any image, you take out any page, you're like that's Lego.
Yeah.
Right. It's identifiable. It doesn't take much to recognize it as Lego. They have the iconic Lego man, right?
Yep.
And I don't see how anyone could even play in that space. Like it's going to take years and years of brand
there
building.
are more and more brands starting to
course.
take them on, especially in the adult consumer space. When we're talking like big, intricate, detailed sets, there are more and more brands that are starting to do it. They're all kind of like out of China, but they are pretty good. But it'll be a while. Lego I think it's healthy competition because it's keeping Lego on their A game as well in terms of their design. So
I mean, it's always going to be healthy competition,
yeah,
and that's the thing
yeah.
that shocked me is that they don't have direct competitors. Their competitors is, do you get Lego or do you get some other toy?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But then, what other toy really gives you that level of experience?
I mean, Lego. When I say there's more and more, it's mainly in the, like I said, in the adult focus sets.
Yeah.
Like Lego still have their toy kind of line, like the kids' education. You know what I mean? Like the Duplo,
Yeah,
all that
that's right.
massive line that they still have.
And then, like for you guys, having other competitors come, because you're only tethered to Lego because they're the main players. But would you then diversify into, or is this something that's just been on the radar?
I think there's definitely been ideas of do you diversify? Do you go into other lighting other brands or other toys or whatever? We've thought about, like, there's a whole kind of hobby space, like Gundams, model railway, model cars, tabletop gaming. There's so much you could light. And I told you about we had like an upgraded lighting system that's built for Lego. Our older system is actually, we've found, is actually really well suited to the hobby space. So there've been ideas of lighting and providing lighting to that route. I think for me, I'm going through a bit of a time where I'm like, I have to reflect and think about what my goals are for the business, because you can diversify. You can go into all these different avenues. There's no, like, I mean, I feel confident that we have a really talented team and we could design products in the hobby space or the tabletop gaming space or whatever it might be. I think for me, I have to kind of have a think about where I want this business to go. If it is staying true to Lego and, you know, in the hope of one day working with Lego again, is there much point dabbling into this space or this space or this space? So these are all kind of questions I'm kind of like, you know, reflecting on and having a think about before getting into them. Because there's the one thing I want to make sure I do right is, if we do try different avenues, that it's well thought out, it's well strategized, there's a good game plan. You know what I mean? There's a good plan in place for all that. Yeah.
So I guess, like, with the way that things currently stand, just in that, within the, like, the Lego and the that market, which is basically 99.99% Lego.
Yeah.
You're still somewhat going to be tethered by them, right? Like,
Yes.
of course, that they're going to be able to do more than you're able to catch up with.
Yeah.
But, like, it just comes down to that you can only create your products based on what they create.
I think there's always an ongoing strategy to try and partner or collaborate with them as much as possible.
Yeah.
Even if it is, you know, I mean, one thing we've always tried to get insights on is what are the products that are coming out, so we can, because we don't know what products, we don't privy to information that of what Lego sets are coming out when they do, and Lego release sets all the time, and that's why we release lighting kits all the time. But we don't know what they're going to release until the consumer finds out. So Lego are working on products that they're releasing in 2 years' time right now. You know what I mean? They're well ahead, and we've always tried to, I guess, get in some way to try and get insights and do it that way. But I think for us, my biggest thing and aim is to continue to build our brand, continue to reach as many Lego consumers as possible, so that we have such a large market share that Lego won't create their own lighting product. I think that's what it is, because they don't want to, I guess, take on Light My Bricks, because Light My Bricks have built such a large following, a big brand, and they have such a large market share that they would just want to collaborate or acquire or something like that.
I would say that the strategy would be acquisition. Like, let's be honest, man, because, like, a lot of these big players, they don't have time. But why would they want to, you know, spend the energy, the time on R&D? I mean, we talk about there's money and then there's time.
Yeah.
They are big on the money, and they don't really need to dedicate the time for it.
Yeah, and they want to protect their brand as well. They don't want, they wouldn't want a company like Light My Bricks taking customers or veering them away from the Lego brand. They're very big on not diluting the brand.
Yeah. And not only that, like whatever it is that your brand, the value system that you guys have implemented, of course, is going to be quite similar to Legos.
Yeah.
Right. There has to be parallels there.
Yeah.
But it is still not Lego.
No.
Right. So you guys
Yeah.
still have agency to say what you want, do whatever you want. And
At the same token, though, we have to abide, or we do abide by the Lego Fair Play guidelines on how we talk about Lego, because we have in the past had ads taken down in, say, Europe because we write something like Lego lighting, which is a big no-no.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've had issues like that. So thankfully, like I said, we've worked with them. They're supportive of what we do, and they've given us like, hey, if you want to run ads or if you want to talk about Lego, these are the guidelines that you should be abiding by. So
that's good. That's really good of them, man, because
Yeah.
I know that there's been like, you know, when I made that comparison between how you work with Lego and how there are other those custom kicks designers and artists that they get fucking Nike goes after them.
Yeah, they will. And Lego have done that for a lot of brands as well. Anyone who, you know, puts an image of the minifigure or something like that, they've got teams that will just take them down straight away. Yeah, heaps of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of money on takedowns.
Shit.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the good thing. I mean, that we're quite lucky that we have somewhat a good relationship with Lego, that we can continue growing our business with their support. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So no, I think that I suspect that has to be something that in the back of the mind. Like, let's just play this. I mean, like, and it's not even about necessarily playing the game, right? Like, of course it is, but a part of it is just being sensible, right? And also not devaluing your brand, because alignment is integral, and I think that the Lego brand is so strong, and from an outsider consumer, there's nothing that I would necessarily look at that brand and pick holes and think that there's any kind of anything that they're doing wrong, as in any.
No, they've got
like,
it.
In social, even in like social commentary, they stay out of that. They don't. Theirs is just, we're just here to have fun. Yeah. They don't want to muck around with any of that stuff, and it is all fun. And you even walk into any of the Lego shops, right? And all the staff there is like, oh, you guys are all nerds. Awesome, love it. Fucking like,
everything is like pretty accepted, welcome. I think they I think the fact that they are still a kids product, I think that's why they have really high standards to make sure they. Like you said, they're not. They stay out of it. They don't. You know what I mean? They're not stay out of anything negative or anything like that.
Yeah, and that's just like, man, I think in many cases that's the way it should be, right? Like when you're talking like with adult stuff and it's adult bullshit, and I'm glad that they're not able to, but they've just chosen to stay away from that, and it really just gives us
nothing political or nothing.
Yeah, it gives us the opportunities to go back and be like, this is nice. I like the space. It's comfortable. It's just like there's a lot of like it's free to be able just to do whatever you want and just have that free play. Yeah. And that is something that I've talked on a lot about. It's just that free play, right? And just to be able to use your imagination in as almost unlimited, just whatever the limitations are with.
Well, they have like free play kind of. Like you can do like a free play workshop and be like a free play license holder or something like that, where you run workshops for corporate companies and stuff like that. You're a Lego, like I don't know the exact title, but it's something to do with like Lego free play operator or Lego free play moderator. I don't know what it's called, but they basically are people who they run workshops in corporates and stuff like that, encouraging free play and creative thinking and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty interesting. Yeah,
there should be more of that, man.
Yeah,
like a lot of the teamwork activities.
Yeah,
stuff that
there's
they do.
so much of that these days. Yeah, you can buy like because I know someone who's done this kind of workshop and that's his business now to do that. And they come in with like a full Lego toolkit, not a toolkit, but like a Lego kind of storage box. Like they've got all this Lego, and then they bring them to different corporates and they run workshops to encourage that kind of thinking and brainstorming and all that kind of stuff.
It's a safe space for it as well, because you know there is a lot of, I guess, like the people that are just too cool for school,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That they will find it hard to lean into the that free play and
Yeah.
just to relinquish
Yeah.
the labels and just to be like,
Yeah.
just have fun,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
But Lego is one of the things that you can lean into. Like if you was to go in there with like butcher's paper and crayons and paint, mate, good luck.
Yeah, that's why.
right?
Yeah.
That's almost like for like free play, but I think that you're going to have a lot more success trying to get people, encouraging them to lean into their imagination.
Yeah, that's
with Lego.
Yeah, it's definitely encouraged now these days.
To go back to the conversation about the risk and the strategy thing, is that my pushback has always been to challenge how things are conventionally done.
Yeah, yeah.
Like social media is a good example of how that there's certain algorithms. So, and this is the thing that I was saying about data. A lot of the data, it's also self-fulfilling. Yeah. So like if you jump on Instagram or any social media platform and you have a look and saying that my audience is broken up with this demographic, age group, gender, this and this and this.
Yep.
So then if I'm being told that, let's say 60% of my audience is male, then, or let's say on YouTube it's 70%, right? That's the breakdown of that platform anyway. So then do I lean into that? If I lean into that, then it's just almost becoming self-fulfilling by doing that.
Yep.
But what I'm doing is to intentionally rebut that, right? It just means things just grow slower. Because
you're going against the algorithm.
You're going against the algorithm, but also not just the algorithm. And I do
the algorithm to go viral for potentially the wrong reasons.
Well, I mean, like the algorithm there is there to give you a snapshot of what's actually happening. But then what happens is that you lean into it, and then it's happening because you're being told to do it this way.
Yeah.
So, but then it's also about just the way that people have been trained to think, right? So, like what I was saying about being leaning into risk as opposed to the algorithm is that a lot of people don't know what it is that they want. Yep. So when we're saying about like with the audience in this podcast is that it is heavily slanted towards visual artists, but right from the jump, right from the very start, you know, my focus has always been on creativity, philosophy, technology, and culture. So whatever fits within those realms. And more often than not, actually in every instance, it's going to be at least two of those four pillars, at least two, if not three, and often all four.
Yep.
And, you know, when you have like, and me as a designer, I take more inspiration from creatives outside of that wheelhouse, right? So I will listen to music and watch movies and that's those two mediums is where I get most of my inspiration from, not looking at other visual artists.
Interesting, yeah.
And then this is the thing, right? Like I am, you know, I'm having these conversations with people that aren't visual artists like yourself.
Yeah.
The last one, the episode that just dropped today, she's an actor. And I just believe and I feel as though that there's lessons that you can take from everyone.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
And, you know, the stuff that you're sharing, people can just listen to it on you know, just face value and be like, okay, this is a podcast, this is an episode about business strategy. It's like, well, it's not really, right? Like it's just the level of thinking and the type of thinking that you can apply to other facets of your life. So when I would then like, let's say, grab a snippet of our conversation and I'll share it with an audience that wasn't necessarily looking for it, I believe that they should be hearing this. The algorithm's not going to present it to them because like that's not the sort of stuff that they're looking at. But they need that more than they need the shit that they're seeing and reading.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I sit with this.
I get it. I think I went through a journey where I'm trying to like build an audience, build a brand, build social media following, all that kind of stuff. And all the brand experts will say, you know, look at the algorithm. And you know, when you can't help but when you post content to look at the views, the retention. For me, in my case, why is it every time I talk about Lego, it's like everyone wants to know about it. Anytime I talk about something that I kind of care about more, whether it's, I don't know, an insight to business or some kind of entrepreneurial kind of thing or philosophy or something that I love, it tanks. Do you know what I mean? And it's always like, am I building the audience? Like, I mean, I could just keep doing Lego content all the time, but is that the kind of people that I want to be talking to? Do I just want to be another Lego influencer? Or, whereas when you're, I guess, talking about the stuff that you really care about or the stuff that you want to give value for, it tanks, but then do you keep going against the algorithm, like you're saying, and not getting as many views or whatever? I've been kind of not battling that, but I've been kind of going through a bit of that. And at the end of the day, I've just come down to like, I'm just going to make content that I enjoy making content for.
I think that's the answer, man.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think sometimes people, they look into it too fast. They look into it too much. They're trying to get results overnight. I mean, it is nice when you put a piece of content out that you're trying to reach people and it goes nuts. That's a great feeling. But I think for me, I've had to kind of been okay with not chasing that and just putting content out that you like, that you enjoy making, and that you find that you want to give value for. I think that's
Yeah. Yeah. I've kind of like just always narrowed it down to like just when, and this is the thing, we're doing strategy, and I've flip-flopped from, as a business strategist, we will always try to look at things objectively, right? And we would then try to like, an example was like working with a particular client, like we'd narrow it down, we'd just try to identify their audience, their market. And then we're looking at it through the most objective lens possible to the point where we're creating this profile of who the target audience is. Like give them a name, all the way down to their Monday to Friday, where are they at every moment of the day. So now I've gone from applying that methodology to where I've like flipped and said that you, the founder, you are your target audience. I prefer now to work with founders that are developing a solution that's for them and not trying to find a gap in a market and be like, I want to plug that gap. It's like, no, you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. I get that. Yeah.
So that's always the thing, because then you're answerable to yourself. And if you're asking questions, should I do that? And it's like, you come up with the answer.
Yeah.
Do you want that or not?
I mean, that's how I started this business.
That's the
it's
thing.
Purely like you're trying to find a solution. You're trying to fix something yourself. And you rather than trying to, what business should I make, or what should I do? What product should I make? Just try and fix something that benefits you or helps solve something for you, because the chances are you're solving it for yourself. You're probably solving it for a lot of other people out there.
Yeah.
That was my kind of
And you're
thing.
trying to cast a wider net and trying to appease a larger segment of the people. Then where do the compromises end, right? Like if this person wants this but not this feature, but then this person wants that feature and not that, it's like where do you draw the line? I think that the line is drawn. It's like you decide for yourself, do you want it or not?
Yep.
And then that's about it.
Yep.
And like, for example, like I'm in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be dropping a line of merch. I don't even want to call it merch, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not me just slapping a logo onto a hoodie or a t-shirt, because that's just like it's easy and it doesn't fit into the fold of the value system. So it originally was just going to be me working with another printer and almost doing like a drop shipping type scenario where they'll make an order and they can print on demand.
Yep.
So speaking with them about that process, they were saying that like actually with what you're trying to achieve, you're better off getting a range screen printed.
Yep.
So then it's like, okay, now this is an investment.
Yeah.
Right. So now I have to like properly outlay
a
a few $1,000s on this.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, so what can I implement in this to differentiate it? So it was more of about, I need to have elements that were audacious. Like audacity is a big part that I want to inject into Future History and everything about it, right? Like, and being audacious, that audacity is to go against the grain, right? Just to be like, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yep.
So not to say that I'm not taking the advice of like speak to a financial advisor, but I'm like, fuck you. No, but like, so then there are other elements that I wanted to include, and I was like, would I want this on it? Would I want this particular feature on these garments? Like, I want to do it. It's like, all right, cool. So now it's just going to take longer and longer to do it. But it's like, this is the level and the layering of creativity that I would want to have in this. And I think it speaks to the brand in a more accurate way rather than just printing a logo
Yeah.
on merch.
Yeah.
But that's just the cost of it now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just the time and literal cost.
Yeah, for sure. The good quality merch.
It's good quality, man. I'll show you. I'll show you afterwards. Yeah.
I mean, I went down that as well. Like, I mean, I don't know if I mentioned.
That's right. You actually did.
Yeah. So,
Coda, right?
Yeah,
Was it Coda?
Coda collection. So, and I'm still like in it. I started it when I had a lot more time. And I had this vision of just creating just comfortable, just basic shit for
kids.
For kids. I mean, like, there's so many of that in the adult, like, you know, in an adult category. But I wanted it for the kids because I literally couldn't find good quality shirts and good quality hoodies for my kids. I know a lot of parents don't really care about that, but for us, it's like, mate, like, because I care about good clothes, you know. I wear, you know, like a good quality T-shirt or whatever, and then I spot it all the time, kids wearing T-shirts with, like, you know, stretched out collars. I'm like, oh, bro, like, I need to get you a better quality shirt. So that's why I kind of started it. So it's still very early stages, but it was all about just finding good quality stuff.
How do you find working in that space? Because, like, I can give you a bunch of reasons why that
it's very hard. I think it's all brand building. As much as you can talk about how good the product is, no one really gives a shit. But I think it's tricky because I'm still learning a lot. You know, I started with just, you know, putting out content and then doing like really good photo shoots and having a really good kind of look and feel to your site and your brand. But I think, a lot of it is brand building, and then I think a lot of it is getting, exposure, getting word of mouth. It's a lot of digital marketing. It's a lot of, you know, I think in that space of kids line clothing, I think I need to, you know, find some good partners, find some good collaborations with influencers, parents out there, that kind of thing. I think that's my kind of strategy for that. I just need to put the time into that.
Yeah, and it is time, man.
Yeah,
it is really is time. Like when you say brand building, I think that one of the things that isn't spoken about often enough. You know, people will tell you the things that you need to do, but they don't tell you that you got to do it for years.
Yeah,
yeah, like
for sure.
There is no such thing as a brand,
and I think there's a lot of investment in there as well. I think it's you hear all this stuff of people saying, "Oh, just do a trial run, just say how you go, and if it does well, you can double down on it." I think, in my case, I don't think it's that easy. I think that you actually need to put out a good range and have a good collection. You can't just have like, you know, two SKUs and just hope for the best. You know what I mean? No one knows who I am. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm a massive celebrity that can just drop a. You know what I mean? Like you have to put in the work and the investment for sure.
Yeah, that's the advice I've got. Yeah. I've had a few people within the fashion circles. They spoke on that and they said, you know, that it takes years. Yeah, it takes years, and it is a lot of it is brand. And like when you say it's brand, not just the quality, that's part of the brand, right? There are very few barriers now for people just to jump in and say that I'm going to have a crack, right?
Yeah.
And then because there are so few barriers, it's very easy for people to do it, which means that there are a lot of people doing it, which means that if you're just going to throw in a couple of SKUs here and there, you can't compete, man.
Yeah, that's right.
So you really have to be at it for years.
For sure.
So it just comes down to whether or not that's you're willing to invest that time and energy.
But you know, I think the good thing about a lot of clothes is like they don't really have like an expiry date or anything like that. So it's like I'm just kind of, you know, enjoying and slowly building that up. And you know, my kids are all repping the brand and they look good in it. And you know, at best, like they just have some cool clothes to wear.
yeah. I mean, you just got a whole bunch of samples, right?
That's it. Yeah.
So that's something that you're working on at the minute.
Yep.
That's
I
working
think
in the background. And
so really, I think, but for me, it's like because I've told you a lot about what's happened in the business in the last 12 months. It's me just kind of reflecting and trying to get my priorities right for the business and where we need to go for next year. This year was all about cleaning up a lot of financial kind of mess, I think.
Okay.
You know, we've been through a fair bit. We've been through a lot of staff. We've been through a couple of restructures. I mentioned before we did have a GM running the show, and then that didn't work out. So we've had to do a couple of restructures and, you know, change some stuff up in terms of people's roles and that kind of thing. And we're just gearing up to our end of year. I think for a lot of e-com brands, the end of the year is where you make most of your money for the year. So for us, it's I spend a lot of time working with like our finance guy that we have, just getting like, one thing a lot of people don't think about is like your margins, your GP margins. So it's protecting that, and hoping to, have a good end of year, pay off debt, and gear yourself up for the year ahead. So yeah, that's what I've been doing on that. That's like a big focus.
How much with that consideration, right? Like all these the restructuring, or at least just like positioning or putting the business in a position where you're happy for it to continue for indefinitely, or until this is the date where I may potentially be like, I've got to like just
I think
like do you what how much consideration do you have with everything else in your life?
Oh, I mean, everything right now. I mean, there's my family, my kids, and that's a busy life in its own. I still can prioritize having a lot of time for them. So when I say I've been really busy turning things around, like it's still, I'm still able to balance the two, because thankfully I still do have a core part of my team that they've got their shit sorted in terms of what they have to do within the business. I think a lot of it is teething issues. I think you go through different periods, and I think especially in the last 2 years when we've seen a lot of growth. When you see a lot of growth, there will be more problems. There'll be more issues and fires to put out. I believe that we've come a long way in the last 12 to 18 months with the restructures, with the changes that we do. We've got a really good, strong core group now within the business. So I believe we have the right people that will, help us grow from here. So like I said, there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of, like I mentioned before, you will have good hires, you'll have bad hires, and as long as you learn from, you know what I mean, like your troubles or mistakes,
that's just how it
life.
always.
Yeah.
Life.
So like I said, like right now, I'm able to have a good balance between the two, and I think for now, it's like I said, it's next year's all about figuring out what the priorities are. If it is like, work. I've mentioned it before, just like it's all about basically building Like My Bricks, the brand of Like My Bricks, to be so strong that in 5 years' time, we'll have such a large market share in the Lego space that I mean, not my biggest fear, what we don't want to happen is for Lego to create a lighting product, right?
Yeah.
So in order to combat that is to basically build Like My Bricks up to be such a strong brand that they won't even bother, and it'll be an acquisition rather than
I think that's always going to be the strategy, regardless of what the motive is. It's like just get it to be as big as possible.
Yeah. So I think it's like I said, so it's if that's where we want to go, how do we get there? What's the 5-year plan? And work backwards? Yeah.
Dude, that sounds super interesting, and I would love just to see how all this evolves, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Kenny, thanks so much for jumping on, man.
No worries, man.
Through
Had a good chat.
Bunch. It was awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
Love how you guys have, love how you have been able just to come up with something from nothing, and just miraculously didn't really just found a gap that seemed so obvious.
Yeah.
And to still continue doing that, and to grow, and to have competitors or at least knockoffs come in, and then just knocking them away.
I mean, it's definitely hasn't been easy, but I think that's what kind of keeps you going. The more you can combat, the more, troubles you can go through, and if you can come out at the end.
Yeah, look, man, I've been like, even just like driving here this morning, just thinking about how your business and what it is and what it represents. I'm a big believer that anybody can just take an idea and make it into something as big as that they want to be. And I think that a lot of the times when businesses fail is not from necessarily a lack of effort, but it would just be from some ingenuity, right?
Yeah.
What are the roadblocks, and where do you need to pivot? What do you need to change up in this approach?
That's the game. I think that's the game. I think a lot of people everyone will run into issues when they're in the business, whether it's a first year, second year, third year. I mean, I feel like we're always running into issues, or me, and And I think it's more about how you deal with that, how you learn from, or how you keep going. Some people might give up. Like, there have been times where I've wanted to give up, but I think it's more just having that sheer passion for what I do, and I just love it that much. It's not just something that I just started because I had nothing else to do. I started it for me. I started it because I really loved and cared so much about Lego and making it look awesome. That's what fuels me, and yeah, that's what keeps me going.
Mate, thank you.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Awesome.